Question number 10, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Tertiary Education, Skills and Employment and asks, what is the name of the tertiary education institution he referred to in his answer to oral question number 9 yesterday that had its focused review, and I quote, elevated to a full review, close quote, and what is the nature of the allegations that his officials are now investigating?
And before I call the Minister, my office has been advised this answer may be longer than normal. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, thank you. The tertiary education system is under constant evaluation, with the TEC and NZQA undertaking a range of different levels of review and investigations of TEOs at any one time. In the interest of natural justice, these are not publicised until they are completed, or indeed for the majority where no issues at all are found, they may not be publicised at all. 6 focused reviews were initiated in 2014 to look at TEOs which had some features in common with the Awanui-Orangi Wānanga and Western Institute of Technology. As indicated to the member yesterday, 5 of those have been concluded completely satisfactorily with no concerns. The 6th investigation will come to a conclusion shortly. As I said to the member yesterday, at an appropriate time I'd be more than happy to publicise the outcome of that investigation and name the institution involved should there be a necessity to do so. But I do not consider it in the public interest to do so at this time before the investigation is concluded.
To the Minister, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Do the allegations against the institution currently still under an elevated review include inflated credit values for course delivery, such as an 11-month course being delivered and assessed in just 7 days?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce. Well,
Mr Speaker, I'm not prepared to go into the details of that at this point, but as I said to the member yesterday, the issues, and also in the answer to my primary question, the issues that we're talking about are with some similarity to what has been announced recently in relation to Awanui-Orangi and Wit and also Taratahi. So there will be some similarities in terms of funding commitments that may not have been met in terms of the amount of teaching that has been provided.
Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Do the allegations against this institution include the enrolment of tutors as ghost students for more than a decade across a range of programs?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, my answer to that is exactly the same as the answer to the previous one. The member will be aware that the Taratahi institution had some issues with tutors being enrolled in programs and those monies being paid. Those are both subject to a current Serious Fraud Office investigation, but also have been announced in terms of the Deloitte review. In relation to the other investigation that he's referring to, I'm not willing to provide the details at this time, but I'm happy to do so once the investigation is complete.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
In what year was he first made aware of allegations of systemic credit and level rorting and of tutors being enrolled in courses to boost numbers and funding at Taipotini Polytechnic in Greymouth? And why has he not acted sooner, given that the Search and Rescue Institute of New Zealand says that as a result of this delivery, lives have been put at risk?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce, either of those two.
Well, Mr Speaker, the matters that the member raises are not for his edification the subject of any current review. I'm aware of the issues that the Search and Rescue Institute raised. I don't have the year in front of me. They were satisfactorily resolved at the time.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, given that Taipotini Polytechnic is not the institution that his officials are still investigating, can he assure the taxpayers of New Zealand that he will now immediately order a further investigation into these allegations? If not, why not?
Again, either of those two supplementary questions.
Mr Speaker, the matters that the Search and Rescue Institute raised, and again we have any number of people raise any number of prospective issues, particularly in a competitive environment of which this one is, as far as I'm aware, were addressed at the time. If the member has any new and recent information, I'd be happy for him to supply it to me and I'd have a look at it.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David
Mr.
Cunliffe.
Speaker, how would the Minister respond to the Acting General Manager of the Search and Rescue Institute of New Zealand, who says in a letter of today's date, how can training that formerly occurred over 1 year now all be taught and assessed in one 7-day period? Are the students aware that as search and rescue responders, their lives are being forsaken so the Polytechnic can make money? How, despite previous complaints to TEC, to the Minister of Tertiary Education and public notification of such occurrences, has this been allowed to continue for so long?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member may or may not be aware that that is a statement by a competitor, I believe, of that particular course. But again, I make the offer that I made in the previous answer. No, I'm just making the member aware that different people make different claims about competing providers at different times. But my invitation to the member is, rather than grandstanding about it, if he'd like to provide the information to me, I'd be more than happy to investigate it.
Order. Order. Question number 11, Ria Bond.